This podcast contains some magical adult language. Listener discretion is advised. And sorry, Mom.
I'm going to Disney World. I'm going to...
Whoa. You're not Mickey Mouse, you're a rat.
Rat smack! Besides, they're tourists. What do they know?
Welcome to Rat Castle, a progressive chat about Disney magic without the pixie dust. I'm Nathan, and with me today are Dave.
Hello.
Sarah.
Hi.
And Janine.
Hello.
Victoria couldn't be with us today, but she offers us the best. She really wanted to be here today because we have a lot of crazy stuff to talk about today. But before we get into the big T, we will certainly, of course, talk about the Don't Say Gay bill fiasco today. But we're going to start with theme parks. And Sarah, you have two things for us to begin. So we're starting off with a little aperitif, a little something simple.
Something light. Yeah. So the Star Cruiser, that officially has opened up to guests over the past week. I have been seeing a lot of cool things about it. I'm honestly pleasantly surprised. So like, what are your guys' thoughts on it so far?
I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I actually thought Len Testa's review was really good. And what's interesting, I think most interesting about his review is he reviewed the quality of it standalone. Yeah. And people kept asking, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And he's like, stay tuned. I have a whole other piece on that, which is, I think, the fair way to do it. Right.
Yeah.
But ultimately, for most people, it'll come down to whether it's worth it. But it's also like, I think the people that were complaining that it's a hotel are missing the point that it's this theatrical experience that you're paying for. And that's what Len's review really solidified for me was, oh, okay, if you lean into this, if you go into this wanting to lean in, I have a feeling you'll like it, whether or not you love Star Wars. If you want to go and just sit in the bar and drink and read sports scores on your phone, don't go and don't spend the money, I
was going to say, I saw some people already who are creating characters. They're like used land speeder salesmen, and they have like business cards and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
I've seen comparisons to it being just like a live action video game with like different narratives that you can run down, and like you can't see and do everything in it, which is really interesting. Yeah, it sounds exhausting.
Yeah, it sounds exhausting. That's what I've said since the beginning is I wish there was a review for introverts about the experience.
Yeah.
Because my favorite thing... my favorite thing so far has been the the climate simulator, which is just a place that you can go outside. And I was
like the
that
climate simulator. Yeah,
I looked at it and
it's
I
a pretty garden.
I didn't get to see that. I need to look that up.
It's pretty. It has like plants and stuff, and I thought I want to read in this space.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay $6,000 to read in a garden.
Yeah. If you're an introvert who's got $6,000 laying around, you have much better places to enjoy your introversion.
Yeah,
it's already so niche, but then like it even makes it even more niche because you have to find like the extroverted people in that community. So it's like already like who has $6,000 and is extroverted and likes Star Wars and is willing to come back. I feel like for me that's the big thing. Like how long is this going to last, especially at this price point? Yeah, like I give it 5 years before the price drops.
Yeah, I do too. And it's not particularly repeatable yet. Maybe they'll add more content to it later, right? But like I always go back to the engagement pyramid that we use in the industry, waiters, swimmers, and divers, right? And like you have to design things for the people who are waiters, who are just dipping their toe in. And judging by Len's review, there was more for waiters than I thought there would be. Like you don't have to lean in so much that you're like a LARPing nerd. If you are a LARPing nerd, you will get a lot out of it. I had a friend do it and we had a long phone call. And so, and they leaned in like crazy and they loved it. But they were with someone who was, moderate fan and a bit of an introvert. And there was still things for them to do. So I was very surprised by that. I thought it would all be like exhausting and like, I hate being in a show in a theme park and being called, picked out of the audience without asking. Oh my, I want to strangle performers when they do that. But it's the worst. But like if I'm going in with that mindset, great. Yeah. I'm down. Right. There's shows that I've gone to that are like that.
I love the Rhodian costume. I think that's a super, super impressive costume.
Yeah.
I like the articulation and things of that nature for that costume. I don't know. Some of it works for me. The captain looks a little Star Trekky for me, weirdly. I think she literally looks like Janeway a little bit, like a blue Janeway.
She looks like Mystique. Is that her name, Mystique?
Yeah, Mystique. Yeah,
that's what she looked. Especially with the contacts and the skin, I was like, this. I feel like I've seen this character before.
Yeah. And I think it's strange to watch Rey and Kylo Ren fight and just sort of stand there and be like, yeah. Like there was just, it was weird to watch videos of the fight happening and people sort of like cheering and stuff. And you're like, there's all this immersion and then it becomes a stunt show weirdly for like 5 minutes, but it is what it is.
Sure. But again, the people judging that based on just watching a video shot with a cell phone or GoPro, and only seeing that, not in the context of staying there and immersing yourself in it. I think that's hard to, like I saw a lot of people complaining about the point when Rey uses the cool lightsaber that lights up and then she has to put it down and grab it. And people are like, oh, that's so dumb. And I'm like, they're literally a month or two in. Like, it's going to take a while for them. This is live performance, people. That's going to, like, I give them a huge pass for that. And people are like, they should have been rehearsing for months. And I'm like, they have, trust me. But like, I think that it really is an experience that I'm not going to be able to really evaluate unless I'm willing to pony up the dough or work says, here you go, and pays for it,
For those of you who can't see, he definitely has his fingers crossed under the camera for that one.
Well, I'll tell you though, we did talk about it and it's not in the budget this year, but I made it very clear. I was like, okay, if I go, I'm not going with y'all because there are some, I love my coworkers, but some of them are a little jaded and cynical, and they like to pick apart things as you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Don't suck everyone out. Yeah.
No, if we're gonna pay the money for this, I'm going, and when I show up, I'm gonna show up. Like,
costumes and everything.
Yeah, you got to convince them this is the future of themed entertainment before it isn't the future of themed entertainment. That's how you get in. Well, anyway, there are things we should say that while Star Cruiser has launched, there are things on hold. Sarah, tell us a little bit about those things on hold.
So Avengers Campus, the Quinjet attraction is on hold. Never really thought it was going to happen. And also the Epcot Mary Poppins attraction is also on hold. Kind of thought it would happen. Surprised that it's not. So will it ever return? We don't know. I really don't know about this one. I feel like when it comes to Avengers Campus, I hate the fact that they are opening it up in phases. I wish it was just complete before they gave it to us, because it's just like walking into it right now, I passed through it. Like there's nothing for me in Avengers Campus. Like the Spider-Man ride, I've already done it. I don't want to pay the $12 every time. The line is long. It gets a little bit boring. The arms are tired. So like, I feel like Avengers Campus really needed that Quinjet attraction. So
it's weird to be like, we have an e-ticket and that e-ticket has been here like for decades at this point. It's just themed differently.
If that had opened with Avengers Campus, it would have been kind of a interesting home run.
Yeah,
exactly.
Even though, the exterior of the building is problematic and weird, but like I give it a huge pass because the actual ride experience is so I'm in the minority here. I think it's way better. It's a better use of that ride system for me.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Like I love the Tower of Terror. And it's like I would be absolutely crushed if they got rid of it in Hollywood Studios, but I love the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
The chatter I saw was people complaining like, well, they're finishing Mickey and Minnie's and Tron and they have all this other stuff going.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not how this works though, guys. Like these are greenlit based on capital expenditure. Yeah. And certain capital budgets were approved pre-2020, and Avengers Campus is one that got cut back and they decided to phase a long time ago. So this is not like new news that it's not going to happen. And it's the writing on the wall is that they're probably in Disney and Universal, Epic notwithstanding, there's probably not going to be a lot of huge capital projects for at least another 3 years. Because they can't, right? Yeah. So, and that's the way money works, unfortunately. So it's not a, it's, I always tell people this business is not built on, hey, wouldn't it be cool? Let's put together a theme park or a ride. No, there's like,
it's a Judy Garland movie.
Exactly right. It's not. And like, I get this all the time about the Warner Brothers park in Abu Dhabi. People say, why don't they build that here? Why don't they build it in a cold climate like Canada or the, Midwest or something? And it's like, because it will. First of all, it's going to cost a lot more to build here. Secondly, there's not a market for it. There's no feasibility study that will support that thing paying for itself within 10 years.
Michigan lacks oil barons.
And slave labor.
Yeah.
And that too.
Yeah,
Expat labor,
there's that.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like the frustration comes in where it's like when things are opening up in phases, like we had, especially in like DCA, we had Pixar Pier open up in phases and there wasn't really much there. Like, even though Pixar Pier is beautiful, but like they didn't really give us anything new. And then when it came to Galaxy's Edge, that also opened up in phases. So it's kind of like, we just want, it might take longer, but I just rather have a finished product all the way through.
When's the last time we had a full reveal?
Pandora.
If you're talking about what East Coast, Pandora for sure.
That's so different. See, that's the thing is I agree, because you always get sort of, I don't know, let's call them lukewarm reviews, because people are like, we don't know, we're still waiting for the whole picture, and then like by the time you get the whole picture, it's sort of hard to gauge. I don't know. I don't like
tough.
it either.
It's weird.
Well, and we talked about concept art last episode, and it's the same thing. It's like that's like the first part of it. It's like, not only do they give concept art that doesn't explain really what it is, or it over promises, and then they do it in phases. And so it's like, it's a weird process. I don't think it's good for marketing, but that's just me.
Especially if you're bringing in a whole new land with like a really beloved IP, and then you just kind of give us like one ride and a shawarma.
I think what they do is they try to like spread it out. So like the new attraction opens, so they get a surge of people coming to see the new attraction, and they're like sort of spacing out the launches.
And truthfully, all theme parks, even new construction, are built in phases. I wouldn't be surprised if Epic has every land but not every attraction at opening. Who knows? But that all relates to, again, new construction parks have a whole different kind of feasibility study of what is your design day, they call it. It's not just ride capacity, but there's all this math that goes into figuring these numbers out. So it isn't just somebody deciding, well, let's not build it now. It's not that at all. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm not saying that's right. I would love to see that ride too. And I've heard rumors of what it is. And so it should be fun. And I agree, from a content perspective, it needs it, because what's there is like, it's fine. It really needs the Avengers to be the Avengers campus. And
like, I don't want to break my neck looking at a building just to see, like, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson's character just like kick some ass. But what are your guys' thoughts on like Mary Poppins and like that whole attraction on like the East Coast?
I was really excited about the Mary Poppins land. That area is not used that much. The pavilion's very popular. Janine and I were just there drinking Pim's Cup, and it was a great time. But at the same time, that back end, once they got rid of the cover band that was back there due to COVID, it's just sort of empty. And so this would have been a nice filler for that. I love Mary Poppins. I love the idea of having lamplighters dance about. I love the idea of having the cannon go off every so often and have, I don't know, it'd be great to have certain things shake or whatever. That would be a blast. The thing is once COVID hit, this was the thing they took off of the Epcot experience. It was like the first thing. So we've seen this kind of coming for a long time. I really don't think this one's coming back. I think we had some Mary Poppins push there for a little bit and a little bit of like momentum after the second film, and I don't know. Their eyes are going to be looking on to other things, I fear. But
I mean, I loved the sequel. I know it's divisive to some fans, but I adore it. I listen to that soundtrack all the time. But it was gonna be just like a flat ride in a box, right? It was not a big deal. Like, if people haven't seen, look up online, Google Tony Baxter Jolly Holiday, and there is this concept that they did that was so smart. It looked like a carousel from the outside, right? The horses going around, but in reality, it was like the ride vehicles in Dreamfinder or in Imagination, where you were on a horse, and then as it went around the corner, it went off on a track, and you went through the world of Mary Poppins riding on this carousel horse that's suspended from the ceiling like the Peter Pan vehicles.
Cool.
It was nuts. It was really, I mean, first of all, ADA and ride vehicle, they have to figure out how to make that work. But as a concept of like matching the outside of the land perfectly would have been great. But inside is this really cool dark ride. Oh, I've tried to steal that and put it in other things that aren't Mary Poppins because I love that idea so much. I love seeing ride vehicles from the outside. Like I love the 1983 Fantasyland rides for that reason. Like seeing them go by and seeing the load station. I think there's not enough of that lately.
Yeah,
I agree.
World of Motion had a great view of the cars from the outside, and it just there's something about seeing it. There's a tactile experience for the eyes.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. Yeah, we'll see if it comes back. I want it to, but they have
unlikely.
There's so much stuff going on. I mean, they're still talking about another pavilion. I don't think that's going to happen forever, but there's more probably juice under an idea like that than, and frankly, I don't want a crappy Mary Poppins ride. So if it's really just going to be a crappy spinner, then forget about it. I'd rather just have nothing.
Oh, and I'm wrong. I'm looking it up, and the Jolly Holiday ride was actually like little mini carousels that floated on water and went outside it was like a water ride. The thing I'm thinking of, I don't know where I saw that ride.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
I think it was like an imaginations competition entry or something that somebody did, or or a spec. I don't know where I saw it. Somebody's going to yell at me online for being wrong, but like so there's two great examples of how that IP could have been really great. So I'm with you, Nathan, that like I don't want to carousel in a box with projections and light. Like that's a cute idea, but that's a opening year attraction, not a new attraction.
Could you imagine an 80 compliant horse though? You have to have this back thing that comes up.
Well,
comes
carousels
up like, it looks
have
like
the
Tron.
benches,
You have it would be an alternate vehicle. It would be like a little seated thing. Like
Yeah.
Oh man. But because as we said, Mary Poppins went away. Not only before it went away, it disappeared at the Epcot experience, which is also closing. If you're listening to this the day it was released, it closes today. So run over there very quickly so you can experience a thing that kind of promises something kind of.
Did we even walk into that when we were there?
No,
we skipped it. I think it's one of those things that you walk in one time and you say, oh, this is kind of neat. And then 30 seconds later to maybe 3 minutes, if you're being generous, you bounce.
For those who don't know, the Epcot experience was a sort of very much a projection-based preview
Concept
center.
art? Yeah.
Yeah, concept art and different stuff about all the things they were going to do at Epcot. And after it's released, just slowly, they've just kept pulling stuff off of
just
the
whittling away
projection. They're like, well, we don't really... I don't think we're going to do this large 2-story thing, and I'm not sure about this Mary Poppins thing. And the thing is, it's lit up on like a kind of a map, and it's really cool. It's a cool design.
It's a topographic map.
Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it was funny to watch that stuff just slowly slide away. So, but it's cool. I love that space. I love when they do stuff with it.
Yeah, I'm happy for them to make room.
Yeah, it took up a lot of space and there was less chairs and stuff. They used to use it for sort of festival merch, and I think that's a great place for it.
Yeah.
And
they would have art displays and stuff there sometimes too, which was always nice. And it was just like a nice place to go to get out of the heat for a minute and just rest for a little bit.
Every park needs a nap ride, right? Like why theme parks don't have those little capsule hotels like they do in Japan where
totally 100%
crawl in for half an hour and take you know what this is pro tip. I will go to the first aid, especially at DCA, which is a beautiful first aid wing because it's brand new, right, relatively, and I just go in and say I have a migraine, and they let you sit and lie down and have a glass of juice, and they turn the lights out and they turn the air conditioning up and let you sit in the cold, and they're like, stay as long as you want. And I was like,
that's
okay,
awesome.
I am doing this again. No, I actually had a migraine. So, but pro tip.
Yeah. I was thinking when you were just saying that about the baby care center, and when I was still nursing my son, it was you felt like you have this little backstage pass to this wonderland where like there's a nice quiet room with rocking chairs and you can sit in it as long as you want, and it's dark.
Love it.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. And that brings up a good point we were talking about when it came to Peppa Pig, which is having these spaces for even kids on the spectrum who need it. And Disney has yet to do that.
Yeah.
And it would be nice I mean, those centers are already available and probably expandable a little bit. So maybe we'll see something along those lines in the near future. That would be nice. But well, Judge Doom, of course, has also gotten his way. We have seen Disneyland's Toontown close. It has been dipped for a reimagining. Any thoughts from y'all about Toontown? I have vague memories. I've only been to Disneyland a couple times. I loved it. I wish it had been over here. But thoughts?
Toontown, I think I loved Toontown, and it all the interactive stuff is really great, and it is, and when it was at its height, at its peak, and everything worked, it was really awesome. But then it just, over the years, it just got a little rough on the edges, and they couldn't keep up with things. So I think a lot of this is, how do we get back that sort of playtime interactive magic that this place used to have, and add some new stuff of that. And they're getting rid of stuff that wasn't really working. Like Goofy's Bounce House is kind of a waste of space, because it used to be a bounce house until people started, spraining things or whatever. The Chippendale Ball Crawl was really low capacity and filled with pee. So it's partially that. It's like, how do we keep what works, which is Cartoon Spin and Donald Duck, and Gadget's Go Coaster is staying, I'm pretty sure.
Rethemed, but staying.
We've rethemed but staying. Mickey's house is awesome, and the meet and greets, and Minnie's house is great. So none of that's, but it's also about, like, let's make the pathways bigger. We have to create a new entry for Runaway Railway. So I'm excited to see it. None of the talent that was part of that original is there anymore. So I'll be very interested to see what the new take on it is. But because the designs of it, if you ever look up Don Carson's drawings of the concepts for Toontown, are some of my favorite Disney art ever. It's why I hired him to do all the aliens and Men in Black. Little humble brag there, but he's amazing. And his stuff is so fun, and it actually, like, came to life. Like, you look at his drawings and go, yeah, that's concept art that actually delivered what it promised.
Yeah,
right?
It does happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss like Toontown the way that it was, but I'm genuinely excited to see like more kid-friendly areas of the park, because like I think that while Disneyland, I feel like Disneyland is definitely catering more to the Disney adult, like Orange County crowd that goes there and just like has a good time and drinks. There's not really a lot of places where like little kids can just like run and like have a good time and like be like in quote unquote nature.
When I took my son to Toontown, it was just like setting him loose and watching him be like a kid in a candy shop, like he's in that world, and you see him enter that world, and he's so excited that he gets to interact with these things, and it's open-ended, and like there's not a whole lot of open-ended imagination at Disney. And
that's the thing people forget, like families with young kids, like they're going to do maybe the carousel if they're like 4, 5, 6 years old, and maybe Dumbo if they're not scared of heights. And it's like there needs to be more of this like little stuff for littles, right?
Like toddler areas where they could just like interact, like you said, and just like have a good time and be able to.
I mean,
like,
my 9-year-old still loves that stuff.
I still love that stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it just, I definitely am excited.
If they get rid of the power company door that shocks you up, heads will roll. Like that's my favorite gag in it. So great.
Yep.
It's a great gag. That in the cage with the bars. That's a classic photo.
Yeah.
You gotta have it.
Yep.
For me, when they were saying they were going to redo stuff, I was concerned about Roger Rabbit, and that's not seeming to be a problem. So I'm fine with whatever they kind of want to do, which is go for it. I get if you're gonna have a bunch of stuff that's very physical, like it's a lot of touching things for kids, it's gonna need a lot of love and maintenance, and as we've all said, it hasn't exactly gotten that in a while, which is
it's super like faded by the sun over there.
Yes, that's also the thing. When everything is painted bright colors, after a while California's no Florida sun, I'll give it that, but it's a sun nonetheless. It's a sun nonetheless. Well, let us get into which most will assuredly be our main topic tonight, which is, of course, is the what I'm going to just call the Disney Don't Say Gay bill fiasco. It is a wild timeline that I've tried to put together for us to sort of kind of get through. But I think I would start by just talking a little bit about what the bill is itself, if people don't know, real quick. Dave, would you by any chance, would you kind of run us through that bill very quickly?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions about it. people say, oh, it's not asking people not to say gay. And it's like, we know that. It's worse than that, really.
Yeah.
That's just the name it's been dubbed because it's dumb. But it basically says that it says that if it's on the surface, it says it's about protecting younger age children, kindergarten age children from sex education, right? And if you wanted to do that and say, let's not teach kindergartners about human sexuality, okay, make it about that, because they didn't. What they said was any mention of gender or sexual orientation at all,
Right.
Yeah.
at all, it like someone can sue the school if and the problem is it's fuzzy where it says age appropriate. It's like, unless it's age appropriate, but the bill does nothing to establish what age appropriate means, which means it's up to the parents who want to sue to find that line. And you can bet, because of that open-endedness, people are going to be out for blood.
It's
Because
intentionally
this is not
vague.
it's intentionally vague.
It's another Florida neo-fascist bill in the sense that it's vague enough to allow anyone who's crazy enough to want to sue on these things to create what they want to do is keep pushing these things towards the Supreme Court, and they're creating scenarios so they can keep these conversations happening that have frankly already been determined by the majority of the population. But you're right, this is one of those bills.
So is it, it's like, from what I've seen, it's like between kindergarten to third grade, you can't talk about gender
Or age
expression.
appropriate.
Yeah.
Just age appropriate.
It says specifically kindergarten to 3, no instruction that is surrounding sexual orientation or gender identity, or like instruction that's not age appropriate. So it could be high school if they think that it's not appropriate for high schoolers.
Right.
Who determines that?
A friend of mine on Twitter, Jay Palmer Dubs is what he goes by, had a really great thread where he's like, let me take a shot at the Don't Say Gay bill. Little Timmy goes to first grade and mentions something about going to the zoo with his mommies last weekend. Little Susie innocently asks, you can't have two mommies, you have to have a mommy and a daddy. So what does the teacher do in that situation that doesn't run afoul of a law that prohibits, quote, classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity? They could say silent, I guess, but kids look to their teachers for guidance with questions. They could say, we don't talk about mommies and daddies in class, but that's kind of ridiculous. They could tell Timmy that he can't talk about his mommies. Then Timmy goes home upset and confused. His first taste of prejudice. Right. Either way, Susie goes home and says, how come Timmy has mommies and no daddy? And her parents are, let us say, supportive of the law. So they file a complaint. How does that turn out? I don't know. But it's a lot of heartache and anger and time and money. And for what? To keep Timmy from saying he has mommies in first grade? But even more than that, this is a law rooted in prejudice. It's not about parents' rights, because the rights of Timmy's mommies are definitely not being protected. Any law rooted in prejudice must be fought. So, and again, which I just thought that was a great thread to show the worst case example. And people are like, oh, you're hand wringing. That's not going to happen. I'm like,
That's absolutely
totally
going
to happen.
My boyfriend's mom is a second grade teacher, and she's like, well, I know all these books that I've, that are just like books that happen to have a family with two parents of the same gender. Like, nope, those books aren't getting read anymore. Like, it's wild because sexual orientation doesn't mean gay. Straight is a sexual orientation. And so a book with a mommy and a daddy is technically instruction on sexual orientation.
Right.
But they're being very
Exactly.
specific. It's coded. Like, it's very
coded.
specific on what they're like targeting. So
they're not talking about that sexual orientation.
And they've been very clear. If you see these individual representatives or people who approve this bill, that this is about, they talk about transgender, rising kids and grooming and all this stuff that has nothing to do.
Bullshit.
Yeah, has nothing to do with
Makes
the
me
actual.
so angry.
But it also shines a light on exactly what they are intending. They're very bad at hiding their evil around here in Florida.
Well, and human sexuality doesn't mean sex. Like this boogeyman of, we are teaching, anal sex to 4-year-olds. It's like, well, nowhere is that happening, first of all.
Right.
And the people saying children shouldn't learn about sexuality while they're also watching Cinderella with their kids and reading books about families with a mom and a dad and buying Barbie and Ken dolls, like that's the same thing. Like it literally is the same thing.
It's just straight homophobia that straight couples are normal, and anything that two gay people can do the exact same behaviors as a straight couple would be perfectly acceptable. But by the nature of the fact that they're two people of the same gender, it's considered perverse. And that can't be allowed. And it's the exact same thing, but just by that nature, it's just straight homophobia. That it's
right. Like young children shouldn't learn about sexuality, but we hear, moms talk incessantly about how cute it is that their baby is flirting with the man she meets because she smiles at them. Or whenever your toddler plays with a toddler down the street, that's his little girlfriend. Isn't that cute? Yeah. That is the same fucking thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really heartbreaking to see that we're having these like discussions, and I just really don't get like the point of it, because like children are already learning about this stuff. They're opening up, like just going on TikTok, like you'll come across something like that. So it's not like they're really hiding anything from these children. It's just not giving them the ability to go in to schools and have it be a discussion in a safe environment. Because if a kid wants to learn about this, they're going to go figure it out. They're going to go find it. And it's
they still will.
Yeah. And they still will. And it's like, why not just be able to have these discussions, whether it be about sexuality or gender expression, in a safe environment with a licensed like teacher or professional or whatever, so that they can help guide these students in a way that's safe for them. So I
have an answer for that my theory, and I think this just goes into the broader conservative onslaught against public education.
Oh, 100%.
They're just making it hostile for teachers. They're just making it much more difficult to be a public school, period. And so it's just, they're pushing heavily towards privatization and charter schools. It's just part of their grand scheme to make it impossible to run a public school, in my opinion. I mean, it's clearly homophobic. It's two-pronged, but it's just, it plays into the larger scheme.
And in the broader picture, what it is a entire societal ideology that is now in a great minority, but still very loud, and unable to come to terms with its own demise, that is now circling the wagons and attempting to educate their children because they feel like they have no ability to do that because the world has moved past them. That's not our problem, it's theirs. And this is their solution continues to be to demonize and make messy things that could help the general public, so they can, at least for one more generation, keep people ignorant. It's silly because it's not going to last.
And they've done it before.
Yes.
The Prop 8 here in California a couple years back. The most effective Prop 8 ad was an ad that claimed that gays were coming for elementary school children.
Yep.
And it
that
worked.
goes back forever.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes back to Anita Bryant in the 70s.
Yeah.
Save our children. Obsessed with the idea that gay teachers would recruit students. It's like the gay panic it makes me so angry.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they say about like the whole transgender situation in the bathrooms. Like they were trying to make it as if like transgender people were going in and like going to be like looking at little kids in the bathrooms. And it's like, that's not, people just want to use the fucking bathroom. Like it's really not that deep. So yeah, there's always just going to be an agenda. Like people constantly talk about the gay agenda, but it's like, that doesn't even really exist. Like
it doesn't
the anti-gay
exist.
agenda.
There's no club.
Exactly. Like the anti-gay agenda.
I've not been invited.
Like, it's like the Antifa club. Like, where's that? Like, I still don't have my membership card. Still hasn't come in the mail. Like, I don't know.
You know what my gay agenda is? I'm gonna get the dog groomed. We're gonna go to brunch. That's the gay agenda. Like, it's pretty fun if you come along.
It's just a good time.
It's just a good time.
Well, I'm gonna keep us moving. One thing I would like to say before we move forward, and this is for Janine and I, the Floridians of the group, because I keep hearing this on Twitter about how we need to saw Florida off of the planet. Hey, DeSantis won by 1%. Okay, we're
Florida's
not
still a battleground state.
We're a battleground state. We're not this like we're not twiddling banjos around here. Like it's very, very close. So give us a break. Help us out. Move down here, progressives. We need you.
Well, they're all moving out. I mean, not to throw shade on any of my friends, but most of my most progressive friends have fled to Seattle and
where they're not
Vermont
needed.
And places that are
If Disney wants to hire a bunch of new creatives down here, first of all, they're gonna go very young because it's cheap.
Yep.
They're gonna get them all coming right out of design school.
Yep.
And
those kids
that
don't
younger audience.
Listen to Ben Shapiro.
No,
Oh
no.
boy.
Anyway.
Which is why they're not Disney's non-response on the whole thing is so aggravating.
Yeah.
It's so aggravating because it's like, you have this giant LGBTQIA workforce. You are literally moving the biggest creative agency within your company, i.e. Imagineering, to what is it, like Dora? And like you can't pretend that those employees aren't going to contain at least 10% queer orientation, because that's just the fact of life, right?
Yeah.
More than 10% for even the people that work in the theme parks. Like there's a huge amount of people who are a part of the LGBT community that work as cast members.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go through the timeline real quick. February 24th, the bill passes the Florida House. The next day, the Orlando Sentinel reports, they have a report and reveals that Disney has donated money to every single sponsor and co-sponsor of the bill. Now, that's less malicious than you think. It's capitalism. It's horrible. But this is what a large corporation like Disney does. They give everybody money so everyone's happy and
Not
does what Disney
everybody.
wants. Well, not everybody, but
Yeah, there are some higher profile Democrats in the Florida legislature who have said that they've never received a donation from Disney.
yes. And some don't want it. And I fully
Yeah,
agree.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. It is a company town. And in this way, it sort of runs a lot of the state. On the 28th, so a couple days later, Disney's LGBTQIA plus business employee resource group, so this is inside of Disney, sends a letter to, I think, Disney in general, the administration, you can hear my professor coming out, the higher-ups, asking them to issue a public statement condemning the legislation. Okay, so that's the 28th. We go to the 3rd of March. So Disney finally releases a statement, and it sucks. To quote, the statement says, "The biggest impact we can have in creating a more inclusive world is through the inspiring content we produce," which is so stupid. I can't even... it's
just saying, we gave you Coco, shut up.
It's
Like,
incredible.
And what does that have to do with the queer community?
we
Nothing.
gave you Black Panther, be quiet.
It's
like,
literally an ad for Disney Plus.
yeah.
Um,
As always.
horrid. So
Yeah.
they're already screwing it up. March 4th, so the next day, Chapek meets with a small group of Disney LGBTQ plus leaders to discuss the controversial legislation, and he says he's going to do a company email. All right, so that's the 4th. We get all the way to the 7th, so he spends days working with who knows who to make this work out, very poorly, but he tries to make it work out. So he releases this company-wide email. He says this: "I do not want anyone to mistake a lack of a statement for a lack of support, because you know how in life, when you're in trouble and your friends don't say anything to help you out, you feel supportive. This is the worst. We all share the same goal of a more tolerant, respectful world. Where we may differ is the tactics to get there. And because the struggle is much bigger than any one bill in any one state, I believe the best way for our company to bring about lasting change is through the inspiring content we produce." So he goes back to that. "The welcoming culture we create and the diverse community organizations we support." So
It makes me want to pull my hair out.
I literally almost
Spiral.
threw up in my mouth reading it.
Yeah.
The counter, of course, to this is that on Wednesday of that month, unidentified, so this is later, so this came out after the shareholders meeting, but I think it's important to say now, unidentified Pixar employees released a statement that said nearly every moment of overtly gay affection is cut at Disney's behest, regardless of when there is protest from both the creative teams and executive leadership at Pixar. Even if creating LGBTQIA+ content was the answer to fixing the discriminatory legislation in the world, we are being barred from creating it. So already their whole response is, "Oh, well, we make all this great content in the showcases," and Twitter was already like lambasting them. They're like, "What? You have two people kissing in the background, two lesbians kissing in the background of a Star Wars movie, and you think that's enough? Like, what are you
For
talking
like
about?"
0.5 seconds. You don't
Yeah.
even see them if you're not paying attention.
And again, like I know that there's bigger fish to fry when they talk about tentpole movies and they have to be released in China and the UAE
Right.
and all that.
Yeah.
And they're showing some backbone, like they stood up for Eternals, which I think was really good.
Yeah.
But like, and and there are things like the Pixar. What's the Pixar short with the guy and the dog?
Yeah, I know what
Out,
you're talking about. Out.
which is which is adorable and very queer, right? But again, those are the outliers. Like they what was the Owl House had a major queer relationship and was a featured character, and then it got canceled, right? Yeah. And I don't want to say it's a conspiracy theory, but not saying anything about this bill doesn't bode well for later content creation that is more queer centric. It just doesn't.
Right.
He can say it all he wants. It doesn't mean their content creation is going to get any more representative.
Right. Of course, at the same time, he goes on to talk about how, well, we give money to both Republicans and Democrats. And we're going to have Jeff Morrell, which if you remember Jeff Morrell is the man who leaked all of the Guardians of the Galaxy news. Jeff is going to take a gander at our advocacy strategy, which means they're not going to do anything. And of course, the last time we have data about Disney, they gave, let's see here, in 2020, they gave the biggest recipient of their money was the America First Action, a Trump re-election super PAC. They gave that $10.5 million.
Fucking hell.
Right. And there's no ethical consumption under modern capitalism, blah, blah, blah. We know that. We know that giving to both sides is what every company's going to do. Even the ones that rate higher in the HRC scale have donations to people we don't like. That's just a fact. You have to swallow that. But I like what you said, Nathan, that that a boycotting Disney, which sounds noble, is does less than what Chapek says their content creation does, which is like you're fighting capitalism with capitalism, which is never going to work.
Yeah, and it will, all it ever does. And I had several cast members retweet what I said, because that's what I said, and they said, yeah, when Disney does poorly, they cut our hours. They don't. It's not like JPEG gets a discount or gets less money.
Right.
So yeah, there's no easy way through that. So we have two prongs going on here. We have the bill, and then we have the lobbying efforts that are sort of have always been there. And some people are shocked, and I'm like, where have you been? This is Disney's thing. So March 8th, that's Tuesday, the bill passes the Florida Senate, and then we have our shareholders meeting the next day. If Chapek couldn't have done this worse, he has a shareholders meeting the next day. So the first thing that's interesting is that the proposal to have Disney release a report on all their state and federal lobbying expenditures fails. 63% of shareholders don't want to know where Disney's spending their money when it comes to lobbying efforts, which is crazy to me. The thing about Disney
it's like
shareholders,
ignorance is bliss almost,
Yeah, that's what it is they know it'll only hurt
capitalism
shares.
Because capitalism.
And then Chapek says, when we donate money to different political candidates, we have no idea how they're going to vote going forward in the future, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So he then goes on to say, we were opposed to the bill from the outset, but we chose not to take a public position on it. And then he says that they were focused on attempting to work behind the scenes with both sides of the aisle. Chapek then says that he spoke with Governor DeSantis on the phone that morning, and that Disney is going to be signing the Human Rights Campaign's statement opposing such legislation in the future and pledging $5 million to different LGBTQ plus causes, including the HRC. So DeSantis' office comes back and says, Disney contacted our office today to speak with the governor. This is the first time we've ever heard from Disney about this legislation. So clearly Chapek is lying.
All this movements behind the scenes, so clandestine, and they really were. It was just like a spy operation, to the point where they didn't even know that it was happening, I guess. Is
and
what
then
that must have been.
and then the punchline being HRC being like, "Fuck your blood money."
Yes.
No, we're not taking it.
Yeah. So of course literally right after that, HRC comes out and says, "Nah, we don't want your money. Maybe you should do better." And then we can talk about you giving us money.
$5 million is nothing.
Well, it certainly isn't 10.5 that you gave to Trump. But
$5 million feels like the HRC could totally raise that on their own. So I think Disney should have done.
They already did
way more.
You know that this was a great and this is fine. This is a great fundraising opportunity for the HRC.
For sure.
So anyway, we then have today where we're taping March 10th, and the Animation Guild and its queer tag community released a statement condemning Disney's leadership. So this is, I think we can all agree, an absolute clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Well,
Shit show.
the only shining part of it is that hearing that the unrest amongst Disney employees across the board, across every sector, is at the dissatisfaction's at an all-time high.
Yeah,
there are high-level executives that are sort of backing up from Chapek. Like this is a shit show, and this is gonna do really, really, really significant long-term damage. And it's kind of, to me, the last straw with Chapek, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
I always said, like, I don't like this scenario, but I'm thrilled to have it because I've hated this man for years, even before he was CEO, and knew this catch-up marketer was nothing. And people were like, oh, I don't really know anything about Bob Chapek. And then he does this one thing that makes everyone go, oh, he is really dirt. And it's like, yeah, he's not a good person. He is a capitalist automaton that makes decisions that are very selfish and very bubbled. And he's not a good man. And he's not. Iger had his issues, don't get me wrong, but Iger also knew how to take a stance on things that he understood were interesting. I mean, hell, I disagree with Walt Disney like a lot, but he even knew how to take stances to things. The worst you can be is spineless, and there's nothing more that Chapek is besides spineless. He's super
But I feel
spineless.
like that plays into his favor too, that he is a selfish piece of shit. Like that he is like a capitalist and he's a dirtbag because he's making the company money. Like at the end of the day, and like shareholders are not going to just like oust him because of this bill. And I think that unfortunately, I think he's here to stay. I really do, because he makes money for the company. Like all his budget cuts, all of his little things that he's done, like they work out for everybody in the company.
For now.
Yeah.
And you can look at other examples of people doing that a little lower. Talk to Paul Pressler about how that works when you cut stuff forever. And see how long you last. I just don't. I agree, Sarah. I don't think that tomorrow he's going to go away, but I think that it's pretty hard to. You never were going to be Uncle Walt, and Bob Iger wore a sweater, and we kind of liked it, but nobody likes this guy. Someone put on Twitter the other day where they said, there's a problem when you walk through the Magic Kingdom and you hear a guest make a joke about Bob Chapek to a cast member and they get a high five for it. Like, that's where we're at. So,
when your average guest knows about him, or has an opinion about him.
Yeah. I was there for the 50th, and we were all waiting for the fireworks, and all everyone did was bitch about Bob Chapek. We're talking people that have never met each other. Just standing there. This man does not go in front of audiences anymore because he knows he's going to get booed. He's not liked. Shareholders, and I make this point about it on Twitter, cultural impact matters, cultural influence matters, and Disney's going to look cheap and rich, but like stodgy and uncool. And it's not a look that anybody wants. They thought, well, we're going to look progressive and unique, and like, here's rainbow merch. You know what? Pride Month's going to look a little awkward this year. And
I ain't going.
Nobody's going.
No one is. And no one's certainly going to. Anyone who knows, you have a community that's well informed, and you have just gave them a slap across the face. They're not going to show up for you. So it's something, to say the least. Well, anyway, I don't want us to get all down in the dumps. Any final words on that before we move forward with our last couple items here, real quickly?
No. Destroy the patriarchy.
Fuck DeSantis.
Fuck DeSantis. Can we just rattle that all off right now?
Yeah.
If you're listeners, if you're unclear of our stance, fuck all those guys.
Yeah. I don't know how you're still here, but
right, exactly.
And give, like, if you're feeling a need, don't sour up and just go on Twitter and be sad. Give money to HRC, give money to the Trevor Project. There are things you can do. Get involved and move to Florida because we need your progressive vote.
Seriously.
And
it's a great
support
place
your
to
friends. Support like all your friends that are in the community, because it's like a really, really hard time for them.
It is, especially to be trans right now.
Especially, absolutely. For all the people that are in Texas, it's really rough. So support your friends.
That's coming here soon too, I'm sure.
For sure.
You have to go beyond being just an ally. You actually have to be a very, 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 very vocal ally. And amplify as many voices as you can.
Okay, well, Dave had to leave us because he had another meeting, but we're going to continue forward. Let's end with a couple subject matters here, little brighter content. I am. You know what? Dave was going to do these, but he had to bounce, so I'm going to go ahead and just sort of talk us through these. It's a ramshackle kind of episode, ladies and gents. To give you some behind the scenes knowledge, about an hour before we recorded, poor Victoria got ill and she couldn't make it, and Janine was already not going to be here because she's just wrapped up in so much homework, and I begged her to show up. So she's joined us, and then Dave had a heart out with the meeting. So
and there was a static monster.
Yeah, and I
monster.
had technical issues, so we're a
here.
mess.
We're tenacious.
Yeah,
We're
but
alive.
we're here, and
That's
it's
what
gonna
matters.
somehow I'm gonna put this together. I'm not sure how yet, but we'll find out how it all that's together. Well, anyway, we've got some good stuff to finish up today. Let's begin with some Disney film and TV news. We have the Muppets with a new project, and I feel like they've had several projects show up and then disappear, but this looks like it's one to stay. The Muppets Mayhem, which is an all-new original series starring Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, my favorite musical group of the Muppets. I think Dr. Teeth's my favorite Muppet. I think it's very possible.
Wow.
I think it's very possible. I love Dr. Teeth. I love Floyd. I love this crew. So they're getting their own series. I couldn't be more jazzed. Thoughts, anybody?
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm really thrilled. I really love how they are leaning into the Muppets again. I feel like they were kind of given half-hearted attention, over the last 20 years. And with the Muppets movie, the Jason Segel movie, I think you got to hand it to Jason Segel. I think that he kind of dragged the Muppets back from the dead a little bit.
Yeah, he gave it a soft reboot. He
really did. I think it's a wonderful thing. I'm so happy.
Yeah, any good, and I feel like Disney Plus has screwed over the Muppets the last couple times. Not in the sense that the Muppet Show did come out. They figured out the majority of the copyright issues and got the Muppet Show on Disney Plus, which I think is a very big thing.
Yeah.
But they had like the Muppets Now thing, which was kind of weird, and they had a Josh Gad like series that didn't go.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They've been all over the place with the Muppets, which is pretty par for the course for Disney. But I think
But the
Mayhem,
Muppets Haunted Mansion one was really good.
yes,
so good.
absolutely,
I love
100%.
that.
And that felt like the return to something that I had been missing for a long time.
That
when
was-
it comes to the Muppets. So
My son and I made a fort in our living room, and we watched that, and it's like a top 10 core memory of like that Haunted Mansion. It was so good.
now, what I really want, and this is hard to ask, but did you guys ever see? I believe the Mayhem played Bonnaroo. Did you see that footage?
I did not.
I think it was Bonnaroo. You can look it up, and it's wonderful because it's the puppeteers doing the songs, singing them live, and riffing and talking to each other between sets and like doing stuff, and the audience goes bananas for the Mayhem. They're just so happy. And I really want to see that in a Disney park. I really want Hollywood Studios to have the Electric Mayhem play, kind of like they were doing Great Moments in History over
Yes,
at
that
Magic
was so
Kingdom.
good.
I think having the Mayhem play would be such a great, awesome thing. Just for
We just
little
need more
sets.
Muppet stuff.
Just
More Muppet
give
IP
me
in the
more
parks.
Muppets. So if this is a way in for people, I'm happy for it. You know what? You know what I really want? I now know what I really, 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 really want. This is it. This is it. I want Rock and Roller Coaster to be Electric Mayhem themed.
Yeah.
They should
That's so
do
much.
it.
That's so much better than Aerosmith.
The contract, isn't it over with Aerosmith? So that they could
I mean, probably. Yeah, at this point.
probably change it.
I don't
to
think they
that.
want to put the money into it, but it's probably pretty easy. I mean, you just
Yeah. You don't even have to change the ride. You just change you
The-
literally record a
Just the
video at the
cutouts.
beginning.
yeah.
Change the music. I would take me, and I have no experience. So, but it would take me like a weekend to probably make it a Mayhem ride
Right?
without changing
I mean,
any
it's
of the
all just
interior.
like plywood cutouts with blacklight. We could just paint some Muppets in there.
Yeah, some faces.
They should
Yeah.
look for us.
Yeah.
We're gonna become the new Imagineering team.
Yeah, we're we're the team you bring
The
in for
Muppets
$5. Yeah, which
$5 Imagineering.
Yeah,
is
good time.
only
Yeah.
that's only about $6.50 less than what they normally give Imagineers. So
Ooh.
it's true though. So from the mayhem, we go to someone else trying to stave off mayhem. That's a terrible transition, but we'll work for it.
It works.
And that, of course, is our dear friend Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is trying to keep young Luke Skywalker safe in the new Obi-Wan Kenobi teaser trailer. I think this is the series everybody's been waiting for. I think Mandalorian was a real surprise, but this is the one everyone was like, okay, like I want to see more Obi-Wan, and I think that's just the truth. I think this is. I'm jazzed.
I'm jazzed. It looks so good, and I'm so jaded on Star Wars stuff, and I did not watch Boba Fett. I barely finished Mandalorian, if I even finished it, but I am jazzed about Obi-Wan. Like it just looks like what Star Wars, what we've wanted, from Star Wars for a long time, and so.
And it's just like a new setting. So that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, we go to a sort of a Tokyo-esque, slightly Coruscant-y, but it's not a desert the whole time, thank God. So we've had enough of that. I am excited for the Grand Inquisitor and some of the other Inquisitors to be involved. If you've watched Rebels, the Grand Inquisitor plays a large role in that. And it's great. I love seeing those kind of crossovers, and we already have Ahsoka in live action, and if I could get like some others, that'd be great. So I'm thrilled, and I'm glad that I like how they keep calling it a limited series, and we're like, yeah, we know you didn't pay like Ewan McGregor for like 3 seasons. We get it. I hope they don't screw over the. I'm a little concerned about the Vader stuff, only because. I don't know. You got to still make that New Hope dialogue work when he talks to Ben in the Death Star, and I just hope that they can kind of toe that line fairly well. I think they're going to figure it out. I did realize the other day that if I'm not mistaken, Obi-Wan doesn't know that Darth Vader is Darth Vader is Anakin yet. He doesn't find that out. I mean, he leaves Anakin to die on Mustafar in the 3rd movie, but we don't see him sort of realize who Vader is. He doesn't even know who Vader is at the end of that movie. And then we already know that he knows everything at the beginning of New Hope. So I think that's going to be one of our big reveals. Well, not to us, but for him, which will be an interesting, some good meaty stuff for,
there's a story to be told
McGregor.
there.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have old friends back. So that's our generation. I always kind of crap on the prequels because I think they're not great at times, but he's the best thing about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hands down. And it's good to have him back. Let's see here. Janine, do you want to finish this up talking us about another? I don't know how to transition this one. There's no connections between Jedis and plumbers, so you're just gonna have to work it. Universal Studios Universal Studios Hollywood has some news.
Yeah, we got a general opening date for Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Hollywood. Who's able to do that? Who can thread that? I don't know. I'm bad at talking. I don't talk good.
I don't talk good either. It's been a long week.
Should we redo that?
No, I don't care this episode. This is just the way it is.
We're getting towards the end. We're alive. So
ladies and gentlemen, you didn't pay $1 for this podcast. So don't be upset. This is what you get.
So that will be really cool. That's real soon. That's a lot sooner than I thought. Mm-hmm. And especially I was just at Universal Studios Hollywood in September and I didn't see any hint of it, I don't think. Maybe I did.
They went vertical like a couple months ago, but it's like it's already faded. Like the color, it's already faded. Because they have what they have, like from what I've seen, like I think I went to Universal like a few weeks ago, and what you can see from the escalators going down into like where the mummy is and stuff is like steel pipes and faded backgrounds. Like that's really it. Yeah,
it's so fast because I think I saw like a hint of it when I was there in September, but I didn't see any color or anything like that. So
it went up pretty quickly. Yeah, like it was just like
and then faded just as fast.
Somehow it looks smaller than Tokyo's.
Yeah, it seems very small. For me personally, I Universal Studios Hollywood needs something so bad. It needs something new, but it just kind of sucks that it's not something big. I understand that they don't have like the space or like really the
really
capacity.
don't.
They don't.
They really don't.
Yeah. I mean, we have the we have like the tour or whatever, so that's kind of nice. But like it's just from what I've seen in the Tokyo videos, like of the land and the ride, it doesn't seem that exciting to me. Like it just doesn't, it feels very cheap. Like I don't know. Something about it doesn't just like, because I thought it would be like, oh my God, you have all this color, you have like this really big IP that everybody knows, but bringing it to life, I just didn't realize it would be so bad. Like I don't know how to describe
it's like it looks plasticky.
Yeah.
And just because it's like that 2-bit and it's not,
it doesn't translate well.
It doesn't translate well. Like Fantasyland is all based on like cartoons, but they like made it alive.
Yeah.
And you can't really do that with Nintendo, or it doesn't stay Nintendo.
Yeah.
It just becomes these
Right.
guys are plumbers, which I guess we're getting that movie.
Yeah, I guess. Well, yeah.
With Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Favorite
it was a Chris
Italian.
Pratt Italian.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what that's about, but yeah, I think that's part of the issue is like taking the animated thing that's like blocky and pixelated and trying to translate that into real life, and you become very aware.
Yeah, and then shoving it in like
A postage stamp.
Hollywood. Yeah, I mean, like it's tight.
It's just jarring. Like it's a jarring area to put it in, because it's like you have the Jurassic World ride, and then you have the Mummy, and then you have Transformers, and then you have Super Mario World. Like it just too much going. Like it just feels like what am I doing? Like
Yeah.
it
So,
doesn't really feel
yeah.
complete.
It doesn't feel it's like they're all vaguely, except for Mummy, technology oriented.
Yeah.
Trying to find
But
a
I don't
common thread
know.
here. I'm
Yeah,
no grasping at straws
I don't
here.
think you're gonna find it.
There's no cohesion there. It's just like a ramshackle.
And the Mario, I'm trying to remember correctly, but I believe Hollywood is only getting the Mario Kart ride. I don't think it's getting the Yoshi.
Yeah.
That would make sense given the space constraints.
Yes.
It does not have the space for that.
So you're only
Yeah.
getting one ride, which I was not impressed with. And again, I think it's one of those rides
Yeah.
you have to, I truly think you have to experience that ride. I don't think you can watch it on video. I really don't. It's weird to watch on video because it's actually a slow ride that looks like it's going fast. It's very strange.
It's another screen ride though, it feels
Yep,
like.
that's all it is.
So it's not exciting. Like it just doesn't really feel very exciting.
Is it a world if it just is like one ride and a themed pavilion
Super
for it?
Mario
To live and just
part. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it doesn't even feel like a land. It's too small.
No.
It's too small and faded, and that's just the part that really pisses me off. I hate it because it's like it seems like the colors are just like Toontown. Like it's literally
Yeah.
just like already faded because it's so
wild.
bright. Yeah.
I thought at first, well, and the thing was, is they're using those, like, there's a little more dimensional space in Japan. And Hollywood, the wall goes up real fast. Like there's
Yeah,
like some
it's
dimensional
real
space,
steep.
and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is just a painted wall, and you don't
Yeah.
get that in Tokyo, and you won't get that in Epic Universe either. I think the States, once again, Florida is going to it's Disney in reverse when it comes to Universal. Florida is going to get the better stuff, and Hollywood's going to get what it gets because of space. So, but hey, we'll see how it all turns out next year.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, I'll go.
God bless you, Universal. You're pushing stuff out.
They're trying.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna take my
Don't-
son for his high school graduation to the Tron coaster opening. That's my plan. So,
You don't have a son.
I don't have a son even. Not conceived a child. No conceiving. Haven't even begun that process.
Yeah.
So 18 plus 9 months. That's
Yeah.
if I started today. I still don't think
Yeah.
Tron will open.
Yeah, but I saw Ashley Carter, she posted a couple pictures of them doing I think it's called like the push and pull test for the Tron coaster.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, so maybe we're getting a little bit something there. I
Who
don't know.
knows? Yeah, they had the
Who
dolls
knows?
on it, and it looked really funny to see a bunch of dolls
Yeah,
flopped over.
That's funny.
They looked ill. They were like, whoa,
Yeah.
so much Tron.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Tron. I just want it to open already. It's like the one thing I want. But yeah, like if for Universal Studios Hollywood, the only thing that's keeping me going there is their pass. They have the cheapest pass, and it's $20 a month, and I get to go whenever I want, and I have the express.
That's
So
pretty good.
that's like
That
the
is
only
great.
reason I'm gonna go. Like,
Yeah.
but other than that, you just like because we have the express pass with it, like I finished that park in like an hour and a half. There's not much going on.
When I went, it was my first time, and we did almost everything, I think. I think we were there 4 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours. As a first time, like, gotta try to like do it's wildly small.
Yeah.
It's really small, and like their food options suck.
I was just thinking that.
So awful. Like you cannot eat
I'm
in the
vegetarian.
Park. Yeah.
It was dire.
They have nothing. It's awful.
Yeah.
Speaking of festivals, we had Food and Wine here. So that opened finally.
Fun.
Yeah. Not very good.
Really?
Some things were good. Some things were good. It was like they had like really all the steak options, all the beef options, amazing. They didn't have a lot of like vegan options or vegetarians options this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it's California. So you'd think there'd be more like vegan and vegetarian.
2022, like
yeah. They had like the same Impossible Burger. So not that many options this year, it feels like, but the food was okay. So it wasn't too bad.
a glowing review from Sarah on
maybe I'll give a more in-depth review. I have to go back and try some of the food. But
okay. All right. Yeah. We'll get a future review from you, and then Janine and I we gotta pop on over to Flower and Garden at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
And check that out as well. That's started. It's already begun, I believe, here at Epcot. Mm-hmm. I'm blocked out for the next week, but I don't want to go anyway. Thanks, spring break. So we'll see. Well, with that, ladies and gents, we have finished another glowing episode. We are barely holding it together, but we did our best, and you know what? That's all you can ask. So, Rat Castle is produced by yours truly, Nathan Hartman. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss another excellent episode. And tell your friends, because we love to push this podcast out. I had someone tell me the other day that they listened and that they really loved it, and they had never heard a podcast about Disney that was like ours, and we really appreciate that. So please tell your friends as well. And you can check out more about what we're up to and kind of little bios about us and all sorts of stuff at ratcastlepodcast.podbean.com. And if you want to send us a question for our mailbag segment, you can do that as well as get all our links and all sorts of stuff over at bit.ly/ratcastle. And now with that, please grab your belongings and exit to the left.
Will you stop this foolishness?
What foolishness would you like to see?
Will you get out of here?